With her can-do attitude, love of simple gardens and decades of experience, Charlie Dimmock is one of Britain's best-loved gardeners.
Fire pit there, water feature bubbling away there.
But the Rich brothers are the new trendsetters. Winners of multiple medals at the Chelsea Flower Show.
Valiant job.
The boys have become known for their dramatic outdoor spaces. Now, these two different generations of gardening are going head-to-head.
They may have a few gold medals, but I've got one or two tricks up my sleeve.
They're meeting frustrated garden owners across the country.
It looks like a driveway.
I wasn't going to say that.
And will each pitch them a design based on their needs.
Wow.
And budget.
Let's hope they choose us.
The winner
Yeah.
brings their design to life, and the loser
Come on, we're in.
has to help them build it.
I get all the best jobs me, don't I?
This is what happens
Who designed this garden? Stupid person.
when different styles collide
Oh, dear, you geeks.
to turn garden dreams into reality.
It's like walking down some stately home. It's beautiful.
It's time for Charlie and the Rich brothers to find out whose garden they're competing to design this time.
Here we've got Jemma and Mike, and they live in Alton.
Well, that's definitely not Alton. I would say that was Gay Paris.
Keen eye over there.
Yeah, you're on it today.
That doesn't mean France can't come to Alton, though. They honeymooned in France a couple of years ago, and the memories of the gardens they saw there have stayed with them.
I think we feel quite inspired by our trip to France and a honeymoon, and the idea of bringing some of that back to our garden with the lavenders would be really, really great from our point of view.
We'd love to see gravel paths with flowers either side and maybe some grasses, a bit of colour, but nothing too bright, just lots of pastel colours, and somewhere very tranquil and somewhere we can sit and relax and have a glass of wine.
But it's a long way from that now.
So that's it there.
I like that.
Well, that's a home office.
Is it? It's
Yes.
very tiny.
It is inky-dinky.
Yeah.
Nice, so key to link that with the garden.
Yeah.
Nice garden, though. I mean, it's quite simple in a way. Low boundary there. What's that? Concrete slab,
Yeah.
patio.
The garden makes me feel quite sad, to be honest with you. At the moment, it's very empty, unloved, and we haven't had a huge amount of time to do much to it ourselves.
Jemma and Mike moved into their home a year ago, and since then have been rather busy.
We've also had a little girl, and we've had a loft conversion done.
The budget is £2,500.
Not massive, is it?
Not massive, no.
Not massive.
Garden looks quite... Do they want to get rid of all the lawn, then?
I don't think so. I think a bit of lawn is always nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, full of la joie de vivre, the trio head to Alton in Hampshire to see if they can transport un petit peu de France to Jemma and Mike's unpromising patch.
Oh, well, we definitely weren't wrong here, were we?
No. A slab of concrete.
Good foundations, though. You know I like that.
Yeah. See, now that says France to me, that bench.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
And the galvanised containers.
Lavenders as well.
Yeah, it's quite arty, that bit there. If you just looked at that bit, you'd go, oh,
Yeah.
it's a sweet garden.
I feel like that's the same with the back as well.
Yeah.
With the shed and the office and a little bit of the arbour. That is a lovely picture.
And lovely to be able to work from home as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite important what we do down that area, I feel.
It
It's a bit squelchy getting there in November.
And also sitting there, I mean, they've got the table and chairs, but they've got no hard standing.
No, the table's on a bit of a lean. It's a bit overlooked, though, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. They've almost got, you can almost imagine if they're sitting in that arbour there with the roses, that gives them that little bit of privacy maybe that they want.
As usual, the guys head inside to see if a look around the couple's house will offer up some clues as to their sense of style.
Oh, nice touch, have the lavender just outside the door.
That is lovely.
Straight away, I kind of feel like it's got a bit of a French vibe in here.
It has. For me, it picks up exactly on the colours and the look of the home studio there, doesn't it? It's quite soft. You've got the pastel colours, you've got the nice paintwork on the furniture, but you've got that lovely exposed wood as well. It's really nice.
Oh, I like the floor as well.
Gorgeous floor.
Yeah. I can see it's got quite a nice earthy feeling to it, but it's also quite nice that it's in quite regimented strips as well.
Yeah, and that is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Look at the tones, You can really imagine that in like quite an informal gravel garden, can't you? Whether it's the gravel itself or maybe a structure within it.
And I've got the old nice little pots in there as well.
It's such a French farmhouse vibe, isn't it?
Loving it.
See if it continues.
Charlie is hoping that a chat with the couple will help her understand exactly what they want from the garden.
What do you want to bring out for that French feel?
I think it's more the colouring of the planting and the lavenders and the whites, very simplistic.
OK, so you're into, like, the very soft pastels?
Yes, definitely. And
Lots
the
of-
pea shingles pathways.
Oh, OK,
too.
so, like, little sort of
Yeah.
single-file pathways. And I know you've just had a baby.
Yes.
So maintenance, you don't want anything too dramatic, I wouldn't have
Not
thought.
too much, but I do enjoy gardening, so I don't mind watering and
Bit of
caring. Yeah, caring. for the plants.
deadheading, because you
That's
obviously
fine.
do all that and pruning. Oh, well, that's lovely. I have to say, the office, unlike many offices I've heard about at the bottom of the garden, looks like it's an actual working office.
It is indeed, absolutely. And in the mornings I'll troops over there and with like a path ultimately leads to it to stop bringing the mud through.
Oh, look at that French dresser. It definitely has a kind of air of being like a little farmhouse in France. You know, lovely pastel colours.
For me, it's all about that kind of softness, elegance, quite airiness and all the natural materials. It's nice to see their wedding photos up as well. It's obviously a homage to the day. Also, what's so important is the homage to their honeymoon that was in France. So I think we need to do it justice, don't we?
Definitely.
So I have to say, I mean, you are slightly overlooked. Is that an issue?
We're hoping to replace this fence in the near
Okay.
future, so that will be slightly higher with a bit of trellising.
Oh, well, that's good
Yeah.
then. So because that makes the budget just go a bit higher. You will have done that, so that's fabulous. So you're saying you want nice pastel colours, a bit of screening.
Yeah.
And apart from it being an office area, do you want a relaxation area down here?
That'd be
I saw the
great.
barbecue.
Yeah, very much so. At the moment, the concrete down there is not very usable. It's a bit rickety and it's not particularly safe. And we like to entertain, so if we can have an area where we can entertain, whether that's this end of the garden or the other end of the garden, that'd be a really nice thing to have.
The designers have seen and heard enough, so full of inspiration, they get to work. Each of them will come up with a design for Jemma and Mike's garden that will work within their budget. The couple will then have to choose a winner, and whoever loses will help the winner build the garden. The £2,500 budget will be spent on materials, whilst Charlie and the Rich brothers, along with a crack team of landscapers, provide the labour. It's time for the designers to pitch their ideas.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. OK, so this is our design.
Wow.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, here we go.
Wow.
First up, they each reveal their ideas to revamp the area where the concrete slab currently sits outside the house.
So we want to pave over this area here. The style of slabbing that we'd like to use on the front here is almost, it hasn't got a good name, crazy paving, but it's almost that idea of using kind of odd shapes. It's quite rustic, it's very charming, it's been worked over time. There's the odd gap where it's allowing things to grow and self-seed from. So it's nothing like a new patio. It's really going to have that very rustic, very kind of French Mediterranean vibe.
So this is your patio area, which I've repaved. Just very neutral, soft, but with big joints between it so things can self-seed in it, because I've got lots of plants in the design that will naturally self-seed.
The couple said that they loved the gravel paths in the gardens they saw on their honeymoon, so we'll be hoping the designers have a nod to those in their plans.
We wanted to create these lovely winding, journeying gravel paths through the garden, where you're walking between lovely pockets of quite rustic, quite soft, airy planting. And we wanted to put a little seating area in the middle of the garden because it's lovely to feel surrounded. Just gives you that second seating area just for the two of you.
And I've got pathways, 3 different pathways that amble all the way down to the office area and the main warm seating area.
Jemma and Mike's garden is long and thin, so knowing these designers, they're bound to have split the space up somehow.
And And then to break the garden up, we've put in these quite rustic walls, like earthy rendered walls. So we want these to feel very rustic and very charming as well. They could double up as seating, possibly, but ultimately they just help to frame and break up the garden into different rooms. So it's just like quite a subtle way of doing it.
Yeah.
I then have dividing the garden sort of in half. This is a dry riverbed with using natural stone, because plants against natural rock always looks really beautiful.
The couple look impressed. But what about that sunny top end of the garden? What have the designers got in mind to capitalise on that?
You journey through, and that's the larger dining space there. Plenty of room. Won't be blocked out with too much shade, so it will allow you to have that sun in the evening, which will be really lovely, and also just works really nicely with the home studio.
Looks beautiful.
Great.
I have kept some lawn. The reason I've kept the lawn is if you're entertaining, bigger space sometimes is useful, but also if you've got a young child, a lawn space is lovely. This is the big open area down at the bottom. Big enough for a good dining room table for seat 4, and then just to make it a nice relaxing space, this is a galvanized water butt with the water just circulating around nice and gently. Very simple, not fancy.
Of course, it will be the planting that will give this space that je ne sais quoi and will really make the French theme sing.
So with the planting, we wanted to keep it quite undefined so that there's no real direct route somewhere that you could wander through. And having plants like Nepeta and lavender, lovely scented plants, when you walk past them and you brush them, that kind of scent is going to carry on through the garden. And then the idea is maybe to have 3 apple trees, something that's going to give you a bit of produce. You know, for the family, you've got apple pies, and you're going to... It's just a lovely thing to be able to have something in the garden that you can pick and take back into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I think with this garden, with the planting and with the kind of gravel and, you know, the undefined gravel paths, that's kind of what we wanted to create, something quite romantic.
We've got lots of lavenders, and I was thinking of using different varieties of lavenders so that the lavender will go on for much longer, but also mixing in lots of different plants that generally tend to be very pale, soft blues and purples that flop over the pathway. Very aromatic. Now, these beehives here, they're sort of a feature, but they're a practical feature because they're actually compost bins about this big underneath the trees. Now, I was going to use some fruit trees and then something that's going to be a bit more sort of not giving you fruit, but a bit more dramatic, maybe an acer. So it's going to give you a bit more colour later in the season because you don't want everything to be all spring and summer.
That's it. Both the designers have given it their best shot.
Thank you very much. See you in a bit.
And the couple now have to pick just one design. Will they be won over by the walls, romantic seating à deux, and the crazy paving in the Rich Brothers design? Or will Charlie have clinched it with her water feature, dry riverbed and lawn?
So, Charlie, how did you tackle the romance of France?
I went for a farmhouse orchard wander through to a more open fields of the Provence.
Whoa, farmhouse orchard sounds exactly like what we've done.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did leave some lawn, though, down here.
Nice. Well, we haven't done that.
Only because I had thought about the young baby.
I mean, that sounds like a major difference, to be honest.
I like the grass area there. I think it's quite a nice space to have in terms of Annabel sitting there as she gets older. What do you think of this one?
It's so different, but so similar in many ways.
I've got seating that end, seating this end.
Well, we've trumped you there. We've got seating in the middle as well.
But what I really like is this middle area here where you've got the little seated area.
It creates a halfway point within the garden.
Water feature?
No.
Simple.
Touché. good battle talk, that.
Ah, well, we'll wait and see, won't we?
I think I know which one I like.
Such a tricky decision.
It might be tricky, but they do need to choose just one design. So which is it going to be?
Hello.
Hello. Well, this was an extremely difficult decision. Both briefs had exactly what we wanted, met exactly what we were looking for. But obviously we have to think of Annabel in terms of practicality for the garden. And the winner is...
Ah, nice.
The lawn and the water feature, it looks brilliant.
Well,
Charlie takes the crown this time, but she'll be relying on Harry and David's help to turn this barren back garden into a piece of Provence. It's a sunny start to the first day of the build in Alton, and to get the ball rolling, project manager Paul gives the team a briefing.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. I'm looking forward to this one. A lovely French-inspired garden. A lovely sunny day.
Yeah?
Yeah, quite a bit going on. We've got like a dry riverbed that runs through this bottom end of it.
It's definitely won't be dry anyway in this weather.
Well, yeah.
This weather, yeah.
There won't be any fish in it, will there?
One question.
Go on, then.
How do we get the digger in?
Yeah.
Luckily, the neighbours are happy to let Andy come through their garden.
Don't forget to wave to the neighbours as they come past.
Whoa, go on.
Andy starts by digging out where the top patio will go, while Paul marks out the end of the garden nearest the house. With the digging in hand, Lee can move on to his first carpentry project of the day. Knocking up the beehive-style compost bins Charlie's ordered. He's making them out of the old fence panels.
It's lovely weathered oak, it's all gnarly and everything, which will match in really well with the theme that Charlie wants for this garden. But now it's just a matter of getting everything prepped, any loose nails out, strengthen them up, cut them down to size, and it's going to be a bit challenging working with this old stuff because it's very brittle. But I'm sure we'll be able to come up with something that Charlie likes out of it anyway.
Out front, there's been a delivery of materials Charlie has in mind for the dry riverbed. Andy's making great progress with the patio. The only good thing about having an ugly grey concrete slab outside the back door is that it makes a fantastic base for a new, attractive sandstone seating area. He's laying the slabs with a 5-centimetre gap between them, allowing plenty of room for plants to self-seed for an effortless, relaxed feel. Out front, Charlie has arrived, but as yet, no sign of the Rich brothers.
Excuse me, madame, there's not much room on the street. Can we park next to you?
oh me, oh my, what is going on here?
Bonjour.
You said French.
Bonjour, ça va?
Oui, bien, et tout?
So this garden is all about romance. I don't think you've hit the nail on the head there quite. More Frank Spencer than romance. They've got memories of their honeymoon in Provence. Oh. So it's all romance, lots of flowers, falling over lots of little winding pathways. Yeah. And jobs-wise, planting up old galvanized containers.
Nice, like that.
Couple of bridges to make over the dry riverbed, and there might be 1 or 2 bits of rock to move and cobbles so it doesn't look like a beach out the front.
Yes, no, probably a good idea.
So may we, may not?
Oui, oui.
The toilet's back here, Dave, isn't it?
And when Charlie gets into the back garden, c'est magnifique.
Whoa, look at this paving, fantastic. It does really say French farmhouse flagstones. We've got the really gorgeous big gaps that we're going to put a bit of soil in. The rocks are coming in, so we're going to put a bit of soil between the gaps with some gravel so things will naturally self-seed. Then you get to the edge of the patio, and this is where we're going through the orchard. So the path divides off and winds off, and we're going to plant fruit trees around here, which will be great because in actual fact, this garden is boiling hot, full sun all day. So it will make this patio here a nice shady place to sit. So this is the main pathway leading down to the lower bit of the garden. So you're going through loads of lavender tumbling over the path and you get to the dry riverbed. At the moment, it just looks like a big hole in the ground, which is what it is, leading to the lawn. Now, the lawn was actually really key for Mike and Jemma because they've got Annabel, young baby, lawn space will be lovely, maybe have a picnic. And then here, which looks like a bit of a building site at the moment, Lee.
Work in progress.
It's going to be this second seating area outside of the office. Water feature's going to go there, we're going to move the arbour up there. And the wonderful thing is Gemma's got some really lovely bits and bobs that sort of say French farmhouse, things like galvanised watering cans, there's a water bath over there. So by the time we finish the garden, it should look gorgeous, as long as the sun doesn't get to us first.
Despite the heat, Lee's making good progress with the beehive compost bins. While David and Harry barrow in the large stones that will form the dry river bed. In her design, Charlie has 3 bridges crossing the riverbed. Andy is using the larger stones to make one of them.
Charlie wants a little stepping stone bridge going through the stream, the dry riverbed. So I'm just going to get these big rocks, just playing around with them really, just positioning them in. Hopefully we'll have a little stepping stone bridge later on.
Tiny bit that way again. I can probably lift it on there now.
Yeah, look at that. It's like a little seesaw.
Meanwhile, another very heavy delivery has arrived.
Coming through.
A large slab of rock that will form the second of the bridges.
No, go with it, go with it.
Whoa, whoa.
Out the front, Charlie is combing the street. She's on the hunt for Welsh poppies.
This is plants for free. It's naturally self-seeded up the street, and just by collecting a few little seed heads that are just ripe, I've got a plan, because I've got that paving area where there's not much soil or not much space, but poppies will definitely survive there. Now, this hoggin is basically another recycled material. Hoggin is the leftover bits and bobs from the stone industry. But what I'm doing here is I'm just going to be sweeping it into the cracks so it's nice and loose. And I think the colour against this natural stone is lovely. But what I am going to do is, because there's quite a bit of dirt in there as well, it will actually support plants. I'm just going to get my seeds and just sprinkle them on. You won't be able to see them because poppy seeds are absolutely tiny, and they will naturally grow where people don't walk, and where the main path is, they won't grow. But it'll make it feel that sort of unkept, rustic farmyard, which is exactly what I want.
Lee's doing sterling work with the compost bins. The boss is impressed.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? Lovely. Nice to work with?
Horrible.
Horrible, I thought it would
Old,
be.
brittle.
Brittle, yeah, a bit like me. Old and brittle and cantankerous. But it's looking fantastic, I have to say. Now, so originally we were going to have 2 compost bins, but I don't think they're going to really generate that much compost from the lawn, because otherwise it's only going to be deadheading. So what if we convert this one into a bit of a hedgehog cum wildlife home, which is going to be great for Annabel.
Watch your fingers. Lovely.
Fantastic, lovely, look at that.
It's gorgeous.
So we're just positioning one of the bridges over Charlie's dry riverbed, and it's a really essential part of the design. It really divides the whole space in half. But obviously, if you've got a dry riverbed like this, you're going to have to cross it.
So on the right, she's got these kind of stepping stones. It almost evokes those memories of when you're a kid and you're crossing the stream, you're trying not to get your toes wet. And then on the other side, in the middle, she's got this lovely kind of lintel, this kind of long expanse of stone. It's got a gorgeous texture, and it's slightly easier to get across, has a different feeling. And then over here, we've got the wooden one.
We have, yeah, and that's the one we're going to be making. And this one is going to be quite romantic, rustic timber bridge that we're going to cut up, create a lovely structure for it, and it'll become the primary route to the office space.
Cool, OK.
Bolt her in.
Bolt her in.
I think that's going somewhere pretty good there.
And now the bridges are all in place, Charlie can start to barrow in the plants.
Woo, woo, woo. It's a train coming down the track.
Oh, look at this. Let's watch this. Oh, not even didn't even budge.
Look at that.
You liking that?
Nice
I'm
work.
liking it all. I'm loving all the different things.
Yeah.
First plants, though. Look at
Nice.
this.
We like to see.
I think this has got to literally just be the odd plant, as if they've just sort of self-seeded. And I have to say, a lot of the plants that I've got here will. This grass, I actually love it that it's all a bit bashed about and bent. It looks like a grass that's been growing and it's slightly distressed because the riverbed is dry. And then we've got some great self-seeders. Got Origeron, Garvinskianus, which is fantastic, and it really actually does better being distressed. Trying to grow it in a nice, rich compost, it doesn't really like it. It's a bit like the poppies. The poorer the soil, the drier, the better and more compact it is, and it will just naturally self-seed around the rocks. Look at that, it's just 2 plants have transformed that bit of hard landscaping. Then we've got sea hollies. I love the sort of colour of that against the stone. And also the shadows that it's creating in this very, very hot and sunny garden. Does feel like we are in the south of France getting baked.
It does, doesn't it? Can't complain, though. It is nice. Ish.
While David gets on with planting, Harry is still barrowing in pebbles for the dry riverbed. Andy and Steve bring in the water feature.
Can we cross, lads?
Yeah. If you can answer
Look at
the riddle.
that water feature coming in. See, that says farmhouse as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, massively.
I mean, I love this tank because it's very simple. It looks old, but it looks modern at the same time. And we're going to have a bit of copper pipe, nice and chunky there, coming up through. And then there's going to be an elbow there, like that. And then another bit of pipe with an elbow there. So the water's just going to come out and it's just going to be like a tap, just continually running. Look at that. Straight into the galvanized tank.
Harry and David spread an even base of topsoil to lay the lawn on, while Lee makes Charlie's vision for the water feature a reality. Next job for David is to plant the structural additions to the garden, starting with the cherry tree.
I'm planting Prunus cerula, and it's going here in the middle island bed, right at the front by the patio. And it's going to look gorgeous because along with the 2 apple trees that Charlie will be planting, it's going to create this lovely orchard. Now, Prunus cerula, you can't actually eat the fruits, but they do look quite decorative. The whole reason this is here is actually for its look and its character. It has these beautiful, quite thin, almost willow-like leaves. It has a gorgeous autumn colour. And then through winter is when you see this gorgeous mahogany, very peely, very characterful bark. So it'll add a lovely element and a lovely natural character along with the apples. Cool.
Meanwhile, Harry's moved on to planting up some feature pots for the patio.
I've got these 2 metal planters, which I feel really kind of touches on that French vibe that Charlie's got running through this garden. Now, the thing with these containers is that they don't have any drainage holes at the moment. So that's going to be my priority, because with no drainage holes, it means that over the winter time, these pots are going to get waterlogged and in turn kind of drown the plants. So I'm just going to get that sorted. Lovely. There we are. And in this first pot, I'm going to be planting it up with a little bit of thyme and some lavender. And as you can see, that combination is just gorgeous. And it really is very reminiscent of a Mediterranean scheme. They're very soft colours, but their aroma is going to be beautiful on this patio. So these two are going to go in here. And I've got some potting up compost, but I'm also going to put some of this stone in the bottom. And that's because lavender and thyme don't like really rich soil. They actually love a poor soil, and you can kind of tell because, you know, they're very Mediterranean plants, so in turn, that soil tends to be a lot drier and not as rich. A nice little mix up. And what I love about the thyme and the lavender is that as they grow, they're just going to kind of slightly cascade over the pot itself, so it's going to make it very kind of informal. And I think in a French garden, it's all about informality. So I do love this combination.
At the back of the garden, Charlie and Lee are putting the finishing touches to the water feature.
Now, it's a bit crooked, rustic, but I quite like that. Shall we see if the pump works in a minute before we go too far ahead?
We'd better do that before
Do it so tight that we've got no hope. Oh, I hear something. Oh, you're that hungry. Oh, that's lovely. I think that's all right, don't you? Tighten away. So nice, gentle sound. So when they're sat down here, it's quite relaxing. Once it's all sort of few plants around it. It's not for washing your hands. Look how filthy your hands are.
They're working hands.
Yeah, well, you can work off. Because I want the water to stay absolutely pristinely clear like it is now. So I'm going to put a treatment in. There's loads of different treatments on the market which will keep the water clear. Most of them, well, nearly all of them are wildlife friendly, fine if children put their hands in. What you want to do is treat the water first when it's clear. So this will treat the whole of this tank. So I'm going to put that in and it will slowly dissolve. So that's a granular one that will dissolve up. And then you also have often one of these which actually stops it from frothing up. So that will just stop the bubbles from forming and frothing over.
Harry and David are using their finely tuned designer's eyes to find the perfect spot for the evergreen plants.
So I know Charlie's promised to have some very loose, very romantic cottage planting within this garden, but first off, we're actually placing the evergreens. And it's a really nice thing to do to start off with, thank you, because if you think about it, these evergreens are going to be a constant form within the garden, and then in between then, you bring in the perennials. They obviously die down in winter, but these evergreen forms, they persist. Obviously they'll grow, but they'll look wonderful as they mature in the garden.
Looking tidy.
While Charlie is busy finding the right spot for the shrubs, whose scent will transport the couple straight back to their honeymoon.
So I'm just placing the lavenders. Got lots of different lavenders. I did promise them at least 3 different types, but lavenders, they come in whites, they come in the traditional purpley blue. Then you've got what we call the French lavender, which is much more flouncy, strangely. And then I'm going to mix in some catmint as well, because it's sort of that whole effect of tumbling over onto the pathway. And so when you brush by it, you get that waft of lavender scent. I mean, lavender, lavandula, it comes from the French for wash, because they used to use lavender when they used to wash their clothes and also store linens, because it has a way of stopping moths in your linen drawers. So they're sort of semi-medicinal as well. And of course, these days, they're very trendy to use in cooking, whether you're making a sauce for your lamb or whether you're putting flowers in caster sugar and just leaving it, and then when you come to bake a cake, use lavender sugar, and it just gives it that je ne sais quoi.
The team are on the home straight now in Alton. They all muck in with the planting to conjure up that parched southern French look.
And I'm just positioning the last of the solidago, or golden rods, within the garden. Now, it is a bit of a thug, but it will look gorgeous when it self-seeds and spreads throughout the dry riverbed and then into the back of the garden. Now, when thinking about positioning this, I put a large grouping on the right-hand side, just with a few spreading into the riverbed, but then to give some sort of asymmetrical balance within the garden so it doesn't look too one-sided, I've just put a grouping over here as well. So even though there's more goldenrod on that side, by dragging this down right into the bottom corner, it helps to balance it both out. Looks gorgeous.
Charlie?
Yeah?
What's this plant?
Catmint, Nepeta. It's lovely because it flops, but cats love it. And when the plants came off, when they arrived, Paddy, you know, the cat?
The cat, yeah.
He literally tromped across about 5 other plants to get to it.
Right.
And it's they don't quite know what it is. It either makes the cats go bonkers and they run around the garden and have a frisky 5 minutes, or my cat, she literally rolls and lays in it and goes,
So we're just going to wait 5 minutes and see what happens to Andy.
Along with the catmint, the beds are filled up with fragrant lavender and beautiful roses. As the apple trees are planted and the lawn that Jemma and Mike were keen on is laid, it's just the final details left to do in this Provençal paradise. Before Jemma and Mike asked for help from the garden rescue team, their garden was a long expanse of grass with little else to catch the eye. Now it's had a £2,500 makeover, and Charlie has spent every penny creating a Gallic haven in Hampshire. £500 of the budget went on the new stone patio. In time, plants will self-seed in the gaps between the stones, and it will look like it's been there forever. The dry riverbed is evocative of the parched countryside in Provence and cost £350 to recreate with rocks and pebbles. The bespoke galvanized water feature provides a relaxing soundtrack to lazy family afternoons in the garden and cost a very reasonable £150. The hoggin paths offer a route around the space and to Mike's office at the back of the plot. They are informal and for £250 perfectly conjure that rural French feel. And lastly, the planting put a £1,200 hole in the budget, but is well worth it, as it brings this space to life. The soft colours, the fruit trees, and the intoxicating scent of lavender and roses really finish this French garden off nicely. C'est très joli. It's time to find out if Charlie has delivered the garden Jemma and Mike were hoping for.
Do you want to open your eyes?
Wow.
Oh, my
That's
word.
incredible.
Oh, my.
It looks so much bigger as well.
Yeah.
Is this our garden?
It's
my
amazing.
God.
I don't even know where to look first.
How about your patio paving?
Oh, that
I went
makes
for
such a difference.
natural stone, like flagstones in a farmhouse.
You got rid of the concrete.
Got rid of the concrete,
Yeah.
and then we've put this hoggin in, which has got soil in it. We've self-seeded it with poppies, so they will naturally come up where you don't walk, so in the corners, like when you go to a farmhouse and it's slightly unkept.
Yeah, that's the feel we
Yeah,
like.
sort of slightly shabby chic.
Yeah.
Oh, c'est bon.
Oh, oui. Oh, très magnifique.
Très beau.
It's really gorgeous paving, isn't it?
Yeah.
And usually you'd have a smaller gap between them, but I love the way it's large, and I love the way Charlie's put in those Welsh poppies. Oh.
So this is your eating apple.
Super.
It's going to get about 8-9 foot tall.
Okay.
And then this is your cooking apple.
So lots of crumbles.
Yeah. And then that's an ornamental cherry that has the most beautiful trunk, and it goes like a mahogany colour.
Wow.
Has lovely flowers. And then we've got roses and lavenders that are going to spill out and over.
What roses are they?
There's a Desdemona, there's all sorts in there. They're all really scented. And I have to say, Paddy the cat, he is into the catmint.
He's been
It
exploring.
looks like he's been rolling in it.
So we moved your arbour up here.
Oh, that's a great location.
Seems better
for it.
there, actually. It looks more
Really good
stable as well.
Yeah. And
Oh,
it's
and
a
a little
nice...
plant box on the side as well.
We went for a bit of shabby chic. We thought you might sort of like that.
That's very us.
All the details.
And the
Fabulous.
composter as well.
That's your composter.
That's just the old fence panels, isn't
That's your old fence.
Ooh la la. That fence is very nice, being transformed into those little compost bins.
Yeah, I mean, they are such cool little ornaments in the garden, aren't they?
I think that shows it's worth actually having your fences redone so you can make something else out of them.
Depending that you had nice fences in the first place.
Well, it's got to be grey and aged, haven't they?
Yeah, probably.
And then you get to the dry riverbed. You've got 3 different bridges. You've got timber. Yeah, it was great for Paddy to claw. You know, he's so happy. I think you've lost the garden to the cat.
I think so. It's now his garden.
Yeah. And we got stepping stones with the limestone. And of course, all these grasses are going to billow over. Do you like the grass?
I love it. I love it. And they'll self-seed to a certain extent.
They will do, and clump up, and great for birds.
So right. I mean, for me, it's just it's so delicate, isn't it, all of the planting? But then having those roses then in between the beds, gorgeous.
I love this bit. It sort of looks, it says farmhouse to me, French farmhouse.
Very much
what with
so.
your distressed table.
And the baguette.
And the baguette. And then we've got your little solar-powered water feature down here.
Yeah, I want to have a look
Can
at
we go
that.
and have a
Yeah.
You got the apples in there for
The
Bobby?
bobbin, yeah. And then round it, you've got your roses that are already there. We've got nice clematis grow up through, but we put the lavender pots there because it'll pick up the scent.
Yeah.
Bit more of your old fence.
Oh, yeah, I just spotted that.
We have turned that into a little hedgehog house come insect den
Nice.
because I thought when Annabel gets older, children love exploring all that.
Discovering.
I love the copper pipe as well.
Yeah.
At the back of the garden now where the water feature is, that's perfect. It's lovely now having the seating up there on the right-hand side where you can actually look across the 2 lavender beds with the roses as well.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
It's a complete transformation, and
My gosh.
I'd never expect you to be able to do all of this. It's so much.
And then looking back up to that patio, I think the view up there is gorgeous.
It is. Thank you so much.
It's phenomenal.
Love it.
So do you think it's been worth it?
Definitely.
Absolutely, indeed. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Taking us back to our honeymoon.
And now Jemma and Mike have had time to take it all in. Do they feel the team have done their French dream justice?
You definitely hit the nail on the head here. I mean, it looks like something that you see in a magazine. It's perfect, and I can't wait to enjoy it.